Welcome to Inside Major League Pickleball, your stop for all things MLP. I'm Will Doughton, joined by the voice of pickleball himself, Mr. Dave Fleming. How are you, Dave?
I am thrilled to be here, Will. Guess what? It's Major League Pickleball time again. It hasn't been forever. We've had some amazing PPA action, but the teams haven't played in forever, and I'm excited to talk about it.
And we do have a lot to talk about. Like you said, it's been a while since we've had MLP, but we have 4 more regular season events coming up. So much to look forward to in those events. And we're starting in the Big Apple, Dave.
Yes, we are. I can't wait to get to New York. We're going to spend a lot of this show talking about New York, our excitement to be there, but then we're also going to Virginia Beach. We are going to Las Vegas, and then Miami's the last chance to get into the playoffs.
But Dave, before we get to New York, let's take a look at who's hot and who's not. Starting off in the hot column, someone playing so well on the PPA side of things, but also way back in MLP Kansas City last month, Rachel Rohrbacher. She went 6-0 as an individual in her matches and just continues to show what we already knew. She's able to anchor a premier level team.
She is. You know, the question for her was, of course, are you Anna Bright's second fiddle? Are you Batman and Robin and you're Robin? No, she's freaking Rachel is who she is. And she's playing fantastic. She's stepped up when they needed it. She's paired well with all of her teammates. She's got the fiery personality as well. And she is bringing it. And we love when she's on the 20x44.
And that whole DC pickleball team, such a strong team. We'll talk about them more a little later. But keeping in that hot column, we're going out west. The SoCal Hard Eights. They've won 10 matches in a row dating back to the midseason tournament. How is that even possible?
Yana is why it's possible. Yana Newell got added to that squad, and she has been terrific. Sort of just got them all calmed down, all figured out. They started out horrendous. I mean, there's only 10 teams in Challenger, not 12. It looked like they're not going to even make the playoffs, and now they are one of the teams to beat. They're at the top of the list.
And Dave, 4 of those 10 wins have come in Dream Breakers, so I don't know whether it's the clutch gene, whether they have ice in their veins, but whatever it is, SoCal had it, and they are playing at a very high level. And now, Dave, going back to 2 teams that have usually been in the not column, one of which you are very familiar with, the Carolina Pickleball Club, but Jessie Irvin picking up her first PPA mixed doubles title in well over a year. Good for you. What do you make of that, Dave?
I'm really excited for her. I mean, she's playing terrific with Gabe Tardio. What a combination. And Gabe has just been on fire as an individual, so I'm sure the Shock can't wait to have him back in the lineup. But just to see her rise was terrific. And we're going to the Big Apple ourselves, so hopefully that carries over into New York City.
And, of course, another team that still near the bottom of the standings, but with some momentum, the Utah Black Diamonds, Connor Garnett and Alex Strong. They were undefeated together in Salt Lake City, and they also have a bronze medal on the PPA Tour in mixed doubles. So there's a lot to like about this team. What do you like specifically?
I like the fact that they just keep making trades over there in Utah, and it's all centered around the big Frenchman. Jay DeVilliers gets traded for Tyson, then they hang out. I mean, he didn't even have a cup of coffee in Utah. Next thing you know, he's traded for Connor Garnett, and that's actually worked. As you mentioned, those two are winning together. They're having fun. We saw Connor Garnett and Tyler Leung make some deep runs together, so they're building chemistry. This is what you hope to have happen as your team is struggling at the first. Can you find the chemistry? And Utah's starting to get a little bit of that. We'll see how they do in New York.
They will certainly be looking out for those players and teams in New York. But before we get there, let's look at the premier level standings. Looking at the graphic now, what stands out to you?
The challenge for the teams at the bottom, because the top 6 are kind of entrenched. So some teams at the bottom are going to have to go bananas. Now, the interesting thing that I am going to be watching is, can anyone creep into that top 2? Because the top 2 is the other thing you want to look for, because you get a bye in the playoffs. That is massive. If I don't have to play and I win, my name continues on in a bracket. That is the greatest gift of all. So getting into the top 2 and then that cut line at 6, a lot of work. You have to literally go to New York and run the table. Maybe somebody will.
And another thing to think about is just having to earn 3 points per match, not just win in Dream Breakers, not just win in a close scenario, but having to blow out teams to get the maximum number of points required. So it'll be really interesting for these teams, especially at the bottom, like your Carolina Pickleball Club right now, Dave, just to see how they're able to, play with that added pressure.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, because if you feel like we want to win all these 2-1, you are only making up 1 point of ground versus 3, which is massive. As you can see in the standings, one at a time isn't going to get it done for the teams at the bottom. So will teams change even their approach and go, wait, let's put our best on best in the mix, because that's our chance to get a 3-point win. So we'll see if strategery comes into this as well.
See if any tactical lineup changes as well come into play in New York. Now, before going to the challenger level standings, there's a lot of news we need to get through with trades. We just had the second waiver period of the season, and there were a lot of moves at the challenger level, Dave.
Yeah, these challenger teams just aren't satisfied. Like, what is happening, folks? It seems like every team makes 7 moves and they only have 4 players at a time. And what I want to see is, can any of these folks find a little chemistry, a little gel? Like, Susanna Barr gets picked up, she's shipped off. She didn't even have a chance to gel with her team. Now she's in Atlanta, for example. So that's what I want to see, and there's a couple I really want to dive into here.
And one of those, of course, the Florida Smash, bringing in Donald Young and Krista Getcheva. What do you like about those moves?
I just like the fact that Florida wasn't satisfied. So they're like, okay, hey, we're going to jump in and see if this duo can make a difference. Krista Getcheva actually was on one of the teams I coached last year, and we won a title. So this is somebody with an actual MLP win under her belt. Hadn't been playing in Major League Pickleball, which was very disappointing for her. She kept working hard, earned the right. So does she feel extra pressure in there, or does she really rise to the occasion like she's done before? We'll see.
I think we'll also see if that veteran presence from having that win kind of helps someone like Donald Young, who's never been in an MLP scenario before.
Absolutely.
So also with the Las Vegas Night Owls, they had such a strong start to the year, but they just got rid of their men's doubles team. They've now got Rafa Hewitt and Blaine Hovenier.
Yeah, so they were just all giddy at the midseason. They are so happy. Everything's great. They're hooting and hollering, literally. And now they don't like their guys. They don't like Anderson. They don't like Mo Alhouni for whatever reason. And then they also, the general manager out as well. So they changed. Caitlin's gone. It's wild what's going on with them. So what did they do? Hey, look at that. Blaine Hovenier's playing some darn good ball in Premier. They made this trade. They got a hold of him, and then they bring in another different guy, and I just can't wait to see how Rafa Hewitt works with Blaine, lefty, righty. It's going to be wild.
Well, I think also, of course, to go along with the women's doubles team, Zoe Wong and Judith Castillo, I'd say they're one of the best women's doubles teams at the challenger level, so consistent. And I've just been really impressed with Zoe Wong's play, especially on the PPA side in recent weeks. It's still a very strong team there.
Zoe is a premier player playing in challenger. That's how good she is. She's making it happen in singles too. Everybody knew she's got kind of that nice doubles game. Her singles have been fantastic against the best. Obviously, Judith singles doesn't need me to validate it. She is a terrific player. So, dudes, can you step up and help the Lady Owls? We'll find out.
And with California, a team that struggled mightily coming out of the gate, they've made some changes on both sides, but one of the biggest changes, they took him first off the board in this waiver period, Chris Hayworth in MLP finally.
Yeah, so Chris Hayworth is going to get a chance to play with Brandon French, so I hope he brings earplugs because Frenchie's going to be chirping, and Hayworth is that person that everybody is like, oh man, when I watch that guy play singles, it looks like if you just showed up, you'd say that's the best player in the whole wide world, and in singles, other than Fed, he is so consistently good. Where's the doubles? Where are the results? Now, he might say to you, it's hard to get partners, and he wouldn't be wrong with that. So now he's going to have a wily MLP veteran chirping away. He's going to get a chance to play with a lot less pressure. He's going to put a lot of pressure on him, but they have a lot of work to do in the standings.
And like you said, Dave, a lot of work to do for the California Black Bears. Let's take that opportunity to look at the challenger level standings.
Yeah, and it's Parodyville here. They're trying to get some separation. The top 6 make it. Anyone can get in there. The Black Bears are right there on the cut line right now. Florida Smash are making trades. It's really going to be who can find the chemistry. That's what's so important. And as we mentioned before, there's trades, there's cuts. One person gets picked up, another team's like, oh, I'll try him or her. What is happening? It's crazyville.
And I think it's also, you have these teams who haven't played since the midseason tournament, who have made substantial changes. The Brooklyn Aces obviously bringing in Pablo Tellez. In his first event with them, they go on and win the whole thing. You've also got Miami Pickleball Club bringing in Noe Cliff and Bobby Oshiro. They had a very solid 4th place finish. I think those are upgrades for that team as well. So just super excited to see, as they play more regular season events, how those changes are going to help them rise up the standings.
Yeah, we need some rhythm. We need some consistency of play together. I know some teams have been doing special best on best. We're going to fly everyone in together, and let's get some exos in there so that we can get some chemistry. We can play against another team. We can do some charity. There was Dink Sanity out there for Jeremy Lin earlier this week. So just more of that, I think, is what the teams have figured out, because they know how important these players understanding how to play together is to win.
And 12 of those teams we just talked about, Dave, will be in action in New York. MLP New York, how does it feel just to be able to have a pickleball event in Central Park in the Big Apple?
It feels absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to get there. I can't wait to see the reaction. What I'm being told is it's sold out. It's going to be packed in there, maybe the most tickets ever sold for Major League Pickleball, which is awesome. And then what we're going to get is this. Everyone walking through Central Park going, wait, what's going on over there? And they're going to want to be a part of this. You know we're going to have celebrities there. You know we're going to have great media coverage in New York. So this is going to be phenomenal.
And it's the city that never sleeps, right? The excitement, you already know, the event, we're still a little ways away from it, and you just know that people are so excited for it, right?
They are, because I think the idea of going to iconic places to play just makes you play a little bit better. The players that you talk to, when you just, instead of the grind, and it certainly is the season, but the grind then takes you somewhere special, and you're like, oh, I got to show out in New York City. Come on.
I mean, you can't not. It's the city of stars. We just had the U.S. Open there with all the tennis stars wanting to bring their best. Pickleball stars will be looking to bring their best in the Big Apple as well. And so kind of going into that event, let's look at some of the storylines, the premier level storylines first, of really what to watch for when you're tuning in to all the action. And first up, we've got bragging rights, a big rivalry, the New Jersey Fives taking on the New York Hustlers. What's the significance of those matchups?
It's a lot, and I think this is going to be what makes Major League Pickleball special going forward in the future years. It's owning your geography. And the Fives over there in New Jersey put up a pretend billboard in their posts and everything. They're like, boom, we own it. Okay, they did win the midseason tournament. I get it. They're allowed to do that. The New York Hustlers have had a wild ride. They were terrible. They were amazing. Now they're kind of in between. Are they going to get that connection? Because in the big city, as more and more people find out about it, they're going to latch on to the things they know, and that's the word new. Which word that comes after it? Is it York or Jersey? We'll find out.
And people in New York certainly love their sports. No reason for them not to get totally invested in pickleball as well. And just so people remember, the New Jersey Fives beat the New York Hustlers in a dream breaker in their lone matchup this season in Atlanta, that first matchup of the season. So New York will be looking for some revenge when they face off here as well. And then we've got also in Premier, the top 2 teams in the standings on a points per match basis, St. Louis Shock and Dallas Flash, they're not there. So what team is going to be the one from that 3, 4, 5, 6 slot to really come in and make a push for that top spot?
Yeah, and the Shock certainly wish they were playing. I mean, can their players be on more fire? Obviously, Captain Anna Bright, but Gabe Tardio winning all over the place, Big H winning all over the place, and then Kate Fahey just further validating everything that Anna Bright said she was going to be. They're going to have a heck of a time, because at the end of the year, folks, you have to choose one player to cut. That's the rule. I don't know how they're going to deal with that. That's not my problem. But what we are talking about is those teams like that's the way the schedule works. You don't play every event. So those games in hand, and that's the word you hear a lot in the hockey, is, okay, you have those opportunities, what do you do with them? And those 3-point wins that we talked about earlier are what those teams, DC, New York Hustlers, New Jersey, can you get there? And then all of a sudden you're right in that conversation because you want to be in the top 2 and get that bye in the playoffs.
And so, of course, we've also got the teams kind of near the bottom of the standings. We talked about Utah and Carolina specifically. You've also got Arizona in the mix there, looking to make that push, looking to make the push for the playoffs, even though the top 6, they do have a sizable advantage in terms of points per match. At this point in the season, how do you kind of motivate your team as a GM, Dave, to bring their best? It's such an illustrious event.
Yeah, I'm hoping everything we said about New York rubs off on the team, and it's like, I want to play great here. And this is a chance to go on a Hustlers-like run that they did earlier in the year where you just win every one of your matches. Just win them all, and then all of a sudden you do get up there. But again, those 3-point wins are the ones you need, especially against the teams that you are trying to get up there and get. Because if you only get that little 1-point leapfrog, that's just not going to be good enough. The other thing I'm going to really be watching is that individual motivation within the team. Can somebody just pull their team to victory? We'll see. Andre Diascu on Arizona is a great example of that. Can he just say, we need to go win? Will Ben do it for us? I can't wait to see.
And I think, that's kind of where those leaders, you talk about leadership. Anna Bright obviously comes to mind. Zane Navratil, can they kind of bring out the best in their squads and make an impact that, extends far beyond just their play on the court?
No doubt.
And so now looking at the challenger storylines, Dave, we talked about it, so much parity on that side of things. The playoff race is so close right now. What's one team that you're looking for to kind of make a push and really establish themselves as a dominant force?
I want to see if the dudes on the Night Owls, the new dudes, the 2 guys, can really make a difference. Can Blaine and Rafa find chemistry? Blaine's big righty. Obviously, Rafa loves to round them up. The ladies are so good from a challenger standpoint. Can they be the difference to push all the way up and maybe get to the top?
So I'm looking for Chicago, the Chicago slice.
Chicago homer here. Here we go.
I'm not even from Chicago.
No.
I think I've been once. But look, last time I said I thought they'd make the playoffs. Then they go 3-1 in Kansas City with Martin Emmerich filling in for Jack Monroe. Martin Emmerich, a great player, but Jack Monroe, the number 2 overall pick in April's draft, they go 3-1. So I think there's just that team, if they can just dial it in. Megan Fudge, such a great veteran presence. Allison Harris, Brendan Long. I just think that team can do some real damage. They would actually make the playoffs if the season ended today on a points per match basis. I expect them to keep on climbing up the rankings. Hopefully, they'll have Jack Monroe back as well.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch. They've played so few matches versus some of the other teams. So can they just start rattling off the wins that you see in the future? Well, let's see if they prove you right.
I hope they do. Please do, Chicago. In our next storyline, we talked about him earlier, Donald Young coming off a fabulous run in Flushing Meadows, the runner-up in the mixed doubles, so close to that Grand Slam title. He'll be back in New York just a few weeks later. How do you see him faring in MLP?
I think he's going to be terrific. I'm thrilled that he's there. He's going to be the king of New York. What a run in mixed doubles. Now he's going to get to play in Central Park. And first time for Major League Pickleball. He's got a former tennis pro in Travis Rettenmeyer, who's also in charge of the squad. So he handpicked Donald. You got the righty-lefty going on there. I think he's going to be fantastic. I think that pickup has the sort of a little bit of risk, but a lot of reward. He's going to be terrific in singles. He's had some very good wins, beating Connor Garnett earlier this year. So let's see DY out there. I can't wait.
We'll see if he stays forever young in New York. And of course, our final challenger storyline, the Brooklyn Aces. It's their first regular season event since winning the mid-season tournament. It's been a while since, that team chemistry hasn't had a ton of time to really gel on the court together. Do you foresee any issues with that?
Well, we were worried about Pablo before because this is a premier player without question, got traded down to challenger. That's the way it works sometimes. Once you sign up as a player, you forfeit your right to decide where you play. That's why we have trades and drafts and waivers and all of that. So that's part of the world of pro athlete, and I love that that's into pro pickleball now. I love the fact that we have future considerations, cash considerations, all of that coming into our sport. I love Pablo's demeanor when undefeated, wrecked everybody. And he also knows that he has to be the man for that team to win. He is excited to go up there and play. I've talked to him about it. He's going to be terrific.
And I'm excited to see him play. He played so well in Grand Rapids and would not be surprised to see a repeat performance from, at this point, the top team in the challenger level standings. So we've gone through the storylines. Let's look at some potential matchups, kind of point out what we're looking for. Our first marquee matchup, your team, the Carolina Pickleball Club, taking on the hometown New York Hustlers.
Yeah, this is going to be fun because it's the first match on center in Central Park. So we get to be part of a marquee matchup maybe because of scheduling here, but we're also playing the home team. So this is a big opportunity for Ben and Colin and Brooke and Jesse, who we talked about earlier, is playing well. Brooke won 2 singles titles in August. So is Carolina potentially arrow pointing up? We'll find out.
We will find out, and I've just got to say the New York Hustlers, I remember a matchup from D.C. when they won in a Dream Breaker.
Yep.
Leia Jansen and Colin Johns had some insane rallies. I would not complain if we see more rallies like that in a potential Dream Breaker. I know that's not what you're looking for.
I mean, maybe I am, just win it this time, but I think we love it when the lineup gets tricked up like that, and we do get Leia versus Colin instead of the dudes versus the dudes and the ladies versus the ladies. So I'm all in for that, just a couple points different.
And just the very next day, we've got an intriguing challenger level matchup. The Brooklyn Aces, who we just talked about, Pablo Tellez, versus the Miami Pickleball Club. Now, this match happened in the midseason tournament. Brooklyn won in a Dream Breaker, but of course, Miami went on to get 4th place. I mentioned Noe Cliff and Bobby Oshiro earlier, but Eric Onsens, Millie Rain, so much to like about this Miami team. They haven't been in action in a while either. This should be 2 of the best teams in the challenger level squaring off.
They are for sure, and this is one of those, on paper, based on the standings, you'd say this has a big Brooklyn favorite. I don't think so. These 2 ladies together are terrific, and my man from Dallas, Noe Cliff, via France, he is terrific. He's playing great. He's good at singles. He's got just, for challenger, just such, you can count on where he puts the ball. And that's what's important. So I think they're a team that can really catch fire here. And then it's going to be the Pablo factor. Can Pablo be the difference? Can he just say, no, we're winning this match? He's certainly capable.
Of course, moving on to Saturday. A lot of people say Saturday, college football, of course. But we've got a huge rivalry. New Jersey Fives, New York Hustlers. We talked about it earlier. Where do you see this match going?
I just don't know. It feels like the clowns just are always flirting with disaster and they get out of it, like a bunch of clowns filing out of a tiny car. Anna Lee Waters finally got an MLP win because they won the midseason tournament. She had never won anything MLP style despite winning everything else in pickleball, so that was a big thing for her. I think she's having more fun with MLP this year. I think the clowns obviously embrace it. They get good fans way away from New York City. So there are going to be red noses and crazy hair and big shoes everywhere in New York City. On the other side, can they just play well again? Can they all get together and play well? Because I think the matchups are actually fine for the Hustlers. It's just the level and the chemistry and the camaraderie. Right now, that's wildly in favor of the Fives, but that could change.
I think the Hustlers, obviously, CJ Klinger could be the X factor for them. We've seen him play at such a high level at different times throughout this season. And so I expect him to bring some extra fire here in New York City. A lot on the line in terms of the playoffs, but also just in terms of keeping up the momentum for the rest of the regular season events.
And I mean, I say this all the time in the broadcast. We love Hugh Jackman as the greatest showman. Our greatest showman is Jack Sock. So in New York City, just down the street from Broadway, come on. He's got to have something for us.
He's got to have something up his sleeve,
Yes.
right? Of course.
Yes.
Of course. And then on Sunday, we'll have the Fives back in action against the DC Pickleball team, a rematch of an epic battle in the final of the midseason tournament. The Fives taking that one. You think DC's out for some revenge, Dave?
Well, they've already gotten it once, and they want it again. And this is a team that feels like they're the best team. And I understand. They have a very talented roster. They made the trade to get Vivian Glasman in there. We talked about how well Rohrabacher's playing. And then they got the big dudes. They've got 2 power forwards playing pickleball. Jimmy Ignatowicz and Deckelbar are terrific, not just because they've figured out the men's side, but when you have 2 guys that can be a dominant force in mixed doubles like those 2 can be, that's just a lot to deal with. And this was another one of those where the 5s, they just figure it out. You look up, Zane's playing the right, Mari's flicking these backhand one-handed rolls, but it's the energy. The 5s right now have the energy better than anybody. It is what makes you tick in Major League Pickleball. It keeps happening, and in their backyard, my goodness, I can't wait to see it.
And we'll just see how far that energy can take them against such a stellar team,
Yes.
stellar lineup of the DC Pickleball team. But Dave, we spent so much time kind of hyping up this event,
Yes.
the matchups, the storylines, the waivers for the challenger level teams. Where can people watch this if they're not fortunate enough to be able to make it to Central Park?
Well, what we've got for you is this little QR code. So this is how you can get tickets if there's any left. We might be sold out by the time you're watching this, folks. That's how popular and exciting this is. But we're going to be in all the major places. We're going to be on MSG Network and some Tennis Channel. I won't be calling a lot of it because I have other duties, but I know I have one match in there on Tennis Channel. I look forward to it. It's just going to be so much fun to have boom, pickleball just dropped right in to Central Park.
I mean, we're bringing pickle to the Big Apple. What more could you want if you're in New York City? And so I know you'll be there.
Yep.
I might be there myself. I hope to be there. So much good pickleball on tap, and we will see you there.